and you do have that regen braking, feeding energy back into the battery. And at takeoff, it is seamless, quiet, like every other Toyota hybrid system, and I've averaged 4 litres per 100. This here is the updated Toyota Corolla Cross, and from the outside, it appears to look very similar, but I will run you through what makes this version different compared to the pre-updated version. And I'm also going to answer the question, can this maintain pole position, because the small to medium-sized SUV segment has become very competitive and there's a host of new brands coming onto our market. Well, throughout the video, I'm going to talk about what makes the Corolla Cross great and also talk about some of the things that I think need improving. And there is a lot to cover, so don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell, and let's get straight into the review. First, what is there to know before walking into a showroom? Pricing starts from $37,000, climbing past $50,000, and that might seem a bit expensive if you compare it to the Kona or Qashqai, but keep in mind that all models of the Corolla Cross come with Toyota's petrol-electric hybrid system, and in total, there are now 4 models to pick from between this, the GX, GXL, Atmos, and the new GR Sport, with the choice between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and the version I'm featuring is the entry-level GX in front-wheel drive specification, and in total, there are 7 colours to pick from. And in terms of ownership, warranty, servicing, running costs, on your screen is a breakdown of everything you need to know. And finally, a big thank you to Southern Highland Toyota, who are located in Moss Vale. And if you are in the market for a new Toyota, I've shared their details in the description below. Let's now talk about styling. The front section has been revised with a new grille, this top piece section, and you still get body cladding on the front bar. And this entry-level GX comes with projection-type LED headlights with an auto high beam, whereas if you go for the GXL and above, they come with full LED lighting and a light strip. Whereas if you go for some of the higher grade models, they come with full LED lighting with a light strip and also a pair of LED fog lights, whereas on the GX, those sections are blank. Moving on to the side view, the GX comes with the 17-inch alloy wheels that are wrapped in these thick profile Bridgestone tyres, and this isn't an SUV-based Corolla without some black plastic body cladding. You also get black power-folding mirrors, which can also be heated. The badging on the side has also been revised, and I do like the Corolla Cross logos on that top C-pillar. But I should mention on this GX, you do miss out on a few things, like the rain sensor for the wipers, roof rails, and the dark privacy glass from B-pillar to the back, which are items that you do get on GXL and models above. At the back, it looks pretty similar to the pre-facelifted model, which means you get halogen rear combination lights, whereas stepping up to GXL and models above, high-grade LED tail lights which look different. And you also get new HEV badging, Corolla Cross lettering on the top here. The bottom section has slightly changed. And tell me, what do you think of the styling compared to the Nissan Qashqai and Hyundai Kona? Yes, it does look pretty generic, but it is going to appeal to most buyers in the market, and it is classic Toyota sticking to what works. Okay, let's talk about the interior. Apart from the center console, everything appears to be very similar to the pre-facelifted version, which means it does feel solid when you slam the door, but being the base model, you do get some hard plastics up the top here on top of the dashboard. It is softish over here, but the center console is finished off in plastic opposed to the piano black. And again, some durable materials, fabric trim, fabric seat upholstery with manual seat adjustment, but the driver does get a power lumbar support, automatic climate control with physical dials and buttons. You also get a plastic steering wheel that feels okay to grip onto, and that offers both manual tilt and reach adjustment. But if you do want a few more features, it is definitely worth considering stepping up to the GXL, because that is going to get you a leather wheel, heated front row seats, wireless phone charging, and a 360 camera on a bigger 10.5-inch screen. whereas this screen is 8 inches in size, but it is an easy system to get used to. There's inbuilt satellite navigation, voice control that also works with Siri, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. And if I go into media, sources, AM, FM, DAB, Bluetooth, USB, Miracast, and going into car, trip information, that is your consumption, and you can also look what is internally happening with the hybrid powertrain. And this car is also connected, as you do have an SOS button up the top here. And moving on to safety functions, this comes with a reversing camera with parking guidelines which are active, along with front and rear parking sensors, a rear cross traffic alert, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, a safe exit warning assist, so if you open the door and an oncoming car is coming your way, that'll alert you. Adaptive cruise control, that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front, a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant, speed sign recognition, and a screen in front of the driver with a customizable menu structure, looking at fuel consumption, media functions, and other key data. You can also choose between drive modes, normal, eco, and power, an EV button to run the car as an electric vehicle if you have enough charge in the battery. Storage is also pretty good. You've got a decent sized glove box, 2 sections for 2 mobile devices and a USB-C port, 2 cup holders over in the center, and some storage under here with a USB-C port and a 12-volt socket. The door bins are quite spacious and they can fit a large water bottle. And up the top here, lighting with mirrors. And what about accessibility? It is an easier car to get into compared to a Corolla. There's also a remote key, keyless entry, and push button ignition. Here in the back, it isn't as spacious compared to a Toyota RAV4, but much bigger compared to a Nissan Qashqai. For example, plenty of knee room, toe room, and headroom with this driver's seat set in my position. The middle seat is a bit of a squeeze, but for this type of vehicle, good knee room, toe room, and plenty of headroom. And looking at that center section, directional air vents, you've got a single map pocket, but nothing behind the driver's seat. And on both sides of the doors, cup holders which aren't really big enough for a big water bottle. The back seats also recline for additional comfort. There is no center armrest, but you do get 2 ISOFIX points for the 2 outboard seats. And right behind me, there are 3 top tether points. If you specify for the Atmos or GR Sport, they come with an electric power tailgate, whereas going for this base model and GXL, these come with a manually operated tailgate, which is nice and light. And once that is open, there's 425 litres of boot space. And you can also drop down the second row seats into a 60-40 split. And what is also great, the seatbelts don't catch on. However, whilst the seats do fold down flat, there is a hump in the floor and also a bit of a raised section here. And boot volume is different depending on which version you go for, but loading items into the back is still pretty easy, and you do have enough room for 2 carry-on suitcases, a pram, and a single large suitcase. Plus, there's also a cutaway section, shopping bag hooks, lighting and tie-down points to keep items secure, and a bit of storage over here as well. And looking underneath the floor, the location for the toolkit, and on the front-wheel drive version, a space saver spare wheel, whereas on the all-wheel drive versions, you don't get a spare wheel. All versions of the Corolla Cross are powered by this, and it's a 2-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol electric hybrid system, and the engine block alone develops 112 kilowatts and 190 newton meters of torque, and this is paired to an e-CVT transmission. And in addition to that, there's also a front electric motor and a battery underneath that back seat. And if you step up to the all-wheel drive version, you get a 30 kilowatt rear electric motor powering the back wheels, along with an independent rear suspension setup, whereas on the front wheel drive version, you get a torsion beam setup. Okay, driving impressions inside the Corolla Cross. Over the bonnet, there's decent forward visibility, side vision is also great, and rear vision is also pretty good as well. You also get a tight turning circle, an electric steering setup, and that means turning around corners, you can pretty much turn it with your finger. And it's also an easy car to get used to pretty quickly. It goes over bumps really nicely, as well as the suspension has been tuned for city driving, and that means it is soft. The seats are also very supportive, even though they are wrapped in fabric, but they are much more comfortable comparing it to a Nissan Qashqai. But the Hyundai Kona might feel a little bit more on the sporty side, whereas the Corolla Cross is more comfort focused. The brake pedal feel also feels progressive but not too lurchy, and you do have that regen braking, feeding energy back into the battery. And at takeoff, it is seamless, quiet, like every other Toyota hybrid system, and very smooth at the same time. And when the engine kicks in, you barely notice it, and it does give you that extra punch. There is a little bit of noise when you apply a lot of acceleration from that eCVT, but if you drive normally, you don't hear it at all. Most of the time, the car is quiet. There is a little bit of wind noise coming from the A-pillar, but apart from that, it is a pretty relaxing crossover to drive. Now, I did say that this front-wheel drive version has a torsion beam rear suspension setup, and what that means is if you hit a pothole on your left wheel, for example, that energy will go to your right wheel, whereas on an independent rear suspension setup, it is a bit more sophisticated, where it's going to absorb bumps a lot better, not transitioning energy into both wheels, if that makes a bit of sense. And there are other benefits too, ride control, less body roll, but for this type of vehicle, that application is fine. What about driver assistance? If I set the adaptive cruise control, that is easy to engage and you can set the distance. There is no driver fatigue monitoring system, which is a good thing, and all the other safety systems like the blind spot monitoring, the automatic braking, nothing is intrusive and nothing is annoying. Finally, what about fuel consumption? Toyota says that this will achieve 4.2 litres on a combined cycle, but I do want to point out that I've only driven this around town. I haven't lived with it, I haven't driven on the freeway, but I have driven around 20 to 30 kilometres, and I've averaged 4 litres per 100. And also keep in mind that this front-wheel drive version has a 36 litre fuel tank, and for the all-wheel drive, that is 42 litres, and you can fill up with 91 petrol. So with driving impressions out of the way, let's finish off with a verdict. So then, a conclusion on the Toyota Corolla Cross. It does tick a lot of boxes. It is nice to drive, relatively spacious on the inside, comfortable, packed with features that you need. The only gripes I have with Toyota products, if you do step up to the top grade model, in this case Atmos or GR Sport, then this does get a bit pricey. But if I was to recommend a small crossover, this'll be it. I think this is my benchmark, and I'd personally go for GXL trim spec. But you tell me, would you pick this over a Nissan Qashqai or anything new from China, for example? Let me know your feedback, and if you want me to feature anything specific, let me know in the comments below. And for anyone new, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.